immediately access to proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. So our first item on the agenda, while calling to order, is to welcome Sarah back from vacation and hoping that you're feeling okay. First item is a discussion item, Master Plan Committee update. Mrs. Littrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Master Plan Committee last met on June 30th, and we're meeting again on August 18th to give our editing team time to work their magic before we come back and review what they have. Also, Sarah was able to get all the updated data from Community Opportunities Group, which she had to zig and zag after MAPC said they weren't able to do it, but she was able to get somebody else and get it done before the June 30th deadline. So kudos to Sarah and thank you very much. And that's all I have.
Mimi, is this, it sounds like this is precisely where you wanted to be, doing the type of things, doing the things that you're doing now with the whole program. Is that safe to say?
As far as the timeline of getting the update done?
And where you are in the process. It sounds to me like it's not at all fragmented. And it's on a steady path with the right people. I'm not as concerned about the time because it's better to let the quality determine how long it takes rather than let the clock. So it just seems that you are where you want to be doing the things you want to be doing.
Yeah, well, there are some very, very talented people on the committee, present company excluded, but are moving things right along and doing a great job.
Any questions, comments?
I'd just like to say that, I've been kind of on the sidelines with this, watching the progress and watching from a bird's eye view. And you're right, Don, a tremendous amount of progress has happened. And it's been a steady path to this ultimate goal of a really comprehensive update. It's not just something that's thrown together in order to meet state statute, but it's a well thought out, well researched, and they're hitting all the most important topics and keeping the community goals and desires in mind when they do this. Because I'm watching it from the sideline, and I can attest to that it's really come a long way. Just my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Yeah, kudos to you and the team, Mimi.
Any questions or comments? Move on to the next item on the agenda, which is 6-8 Turnpike Road modification to major site plan. It's a public hearing. We'll ask the town planner to read the public hearing notice.
Karina, you're on mute.
That would work better sorry about that. This is a public hearing notice for modification of major site plan approval. Per section 174-10 of the Southborough zoning code, the planning board of the town of Southborough shall hold a public hearing on Monday, June 19th, 2021 at 7:05 p.m. to consider the application of Anthony Medry, 6 Turnpike Road LLC for modification to major site plan approval regarding the property located at 6-8 Turnpike Road, Assessors Map 39, Parcel 26 via remote Zoom meeting. This public hearing concerns modifications to the parking area and stormwater drainage system. The original major site plan, along with a special permit for lower impact development, was approved on April 25th, 2016. A copy of the plans and application may be reviewed at the planning board's webpage https://www.southboroughtown.com/planning-board, or in person at the Southborough Townhouse during normal business hours. In accordance with Senate Bill number 2475, this meeting will be held virtually. No in-person attendance by the public. Persons wishing to participate in this meeting while in progress may do so by going online to www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. Donald C. Morris, Chair, Planning Board.
Okay, thank you. So with the public meeting, public hearing officially opened, I must say that the green cards, which are mailed to abutters, were not received until 4:32 this afternoon. There has not been enough time to review them, and therefore, it's my recommendation as the chairman that we conduct no business relative to the merits of the project and continue the hearing without any action until our next planning board meeting, at which time, hopefully, the green cards will be in order. And we will also have the comments back from our consultant. I'll open it up to the board for consideration to continue the public hearing with no official action. Mr. Mills,
Yeah, I'm comfortable with your recommendation.
Mr. Stein,
That sounds fine to me.
Mrs. Latrell,
Agreed.
Mrs. Houlihan.
Agreed.
Will entertain that motion.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. And that would be to continue the public hearing to, what's the date? Karina?
August 16th.
August 16th
At 7:05?
at 7:05.
Is that your motion, Mr. Mills?
Oh, it is, Mr. Chairman. You caught me off guard.
No, I caught myself off guard, but I'm not, I'm a little bit sideways about having to do this. It's very rare when this happens, but it's unfortunate. Mr. Stein, is that the motion you seconded?
It is. My only discussion point being that I'll probably be away in a place where I may not have internet access, but I'm certainly willing to file the Mullins form and watch the meeting to participate in the subsequent hearing if there is one.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, Morris, yes?
Mills, yes.
Stein, yes?
Latrell, yes.
Houlihan, yes.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is a public hearing. Proposed downtown district bylaw, zoning map, and design guidelines. I'll ask the town planner to read the public hearing notice.
All right, this is the public hearing notice, Town of Southborough. Pursuant to the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 5, the Southborough Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, July 19th, 2021 at 7:15 PM via remote Zoom meeting to review a proposed zoning code amendment for a special town meeting warrant article to create Section 174-8.12 Downtown District, parentheses DD, within Section 174-8 use regulations to establish a new zone within the current business village district for the downtown area and with associated amendments to and for sections 174-2 definitions, section 174-3 districts enumerated, sections 174-8.C2, section 174-10.2 downtown district plan approval, section 174-12 parking and loading regulations, and for respective zoning map changes. In accordance with the Senate Bill number 2475, this meeting will be held virtually. No in-person attendance by the public. Persons wishing to participate in this meeting while in progress may do so by going online to www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. A copy of the proposed language and documents may be viewed on the planning board's webpage at www.southboroughtown.com/planning-board or in person at the Southborough Townhouse Board of Selectmen Office, 17 Common Street, Southborough, Mass. 01772 during normal business hours. Donald Morris, Chair, Planning Board.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
First, I'd like to thank the Board of Selectmen. When we were first approached with this opening of a public hearing, it seemed, I think the original date for the special town meeting in the fall was October 4th. And it was my feeling that that was insufficient time for such an important zoning change, especially with two of those, 4 months being summer months. So I requested that the Board of Selectmen consider putting it out into sometime in November, which I understand is the direction that we're heading in, and that that would give us all of September and all of October to finish up and let the public have plenty of time to review this proposal before the special town meeting. So I want to thank the Board of Selectmen for that. The only other thing that I wanted to say before we opened it up is this proposal seems to be broken down into basically 3 parts. One is the bylaw, the zoning language, the bylaw itself. Second thing is the zoning map. And the third thing is the design guidelines. So I'd like to get feedback from the board and I guess the public as to how we want to conduct ourselves tonight, maybe focusing on the bylaw language. We don't have the design guidelines, and the selectmen have decided to send the map unchanged to the planning board, which is fine. And Karina will have, actually, I'll go to Karina now and ask you to share your feelings relative to how the map has to be bare minimum. If we left the map itself, how that has to be addressed, and then the status of the design guidelines.
Sure. So based on prior conversations with prior town council, as well as with Adam Costa, attorney Adam Costa, who assisted the Board of Selectmen in reviewing the proposed bylaw amendment, it's our understanding that any change to the zoning map, even if it's adding a district name to the list of districts on the map and showing that new district as a new color, requires approval at town meeting. Therefore, that language to address that should be part of the warrant article, so that if the warrant article passes and is adopted, then it will also include amending the zoning map to reflect this new district. And as Don said, we received an image of the current zoning map outlining the existing business village district, which will, in the downtown area, be renamed to the downtown district. If people were to now go to the zoning code or the zoning map, and they see the same zoning map and it says business village district and there's no downtown district listed, to find it on the zoning map, they'll think that there's no downtown district, there's a business village district, and they'll go to the town code under that district and see what is allowed and what's not allowed, and the dimensional requirements, et cetera, and what permits are required with what thresholds. Therefore, it's imperative that the change to the zoning map, even if it's not changing the boundary line somewhere, still has to be addressed as part of the bylaw amendment for that reason.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Could be the simplest thing we do. And then the status of the guidelines. Or would that be you,
So I can
Marty?
speak to that real quickly, and then Marty can probably elaborate. It's my understanding that Lisa Braccio and Mimi Luttrell and Judy Barrett. And there was one other person involved from the EDC. I just can't remember if it was John Wood or Julie Connolly.
Julie.
It was Julie, that's it. We're working together to come up with an approach to the design guidelines different from the ones that were provided at the last public hearings prior to the annual town meeting. I think they were basing it on possibly an example from Northborough, and Mimi can correct me if I'm wrong. So they've been working on that, and we've been waiting to get a draft so that we can also add that to the documents for review.
Okay. Go ahead, Mimi.
So Judy's been out straight, I guess, and we haven't been able to meet yet. So we haven't had a chance to sit down and talk yet, but everything else, Karina's update is correct.
Anything, Marnie? Comments? No.
No.
The materials in the planning board's Dropbox, I didn't double check. Is all that stuff on the planning website? There was one thing. There was one thing that I thought was really excellent, and that was the EDC. I think it's called update. It was number 10. You know what I'm talking about, Sarah? And I thought that was I think that it's 14 pages.
It's
But it's
their
really-
newsletter that EDC puts out every month. And they
Yeah.
update on what the status is of their projects they're working on.
Well, the majority of that number 10 June update was the downtown district, if I remember right. And I thought it was very well done. And it's probably on their website. I didn't check, but I would recommend that we put that on our website also. I think it would really help guide the public in an abbreviated and simpler way, very visual, to have that available on our website also.
Posted
make
with
sure it's posted.
with the public hearing documents.
However you want to do it, but I just think that if people wanted to look at what's on our website, they would benefit from seeing that EDC update without having to bounce around to different websites. Thought it was really, really well done.
I'll post it along with the public hearing documents so that it'll be fresh.
Okay, so I'll open up to the board for recommendations on how we want to conduct this first part of the public hearing. One option of which is to not guide it and see where the public wants to take it. Mr. Mills.
Well, I'm kind of in favor of listening to the public first. It looks like there's a lot of individuals out there. I appreciate everyone attending, and I'd like to hear them so they, not that I hope they'll continue to attend, but I'd like to hear their questions or comments to start off.
We do have 16 members of the public, including several members of the EDC, as well as Select Chairwoman Braccio. This is Lisa Braccio.
Mr. Stein?
So nothing jumps out at me in the language of the revised article, so I'm fine with listening to the public at this time.
Mrs. Luttrell?
That's fine.
Mrs. Houlihan?
So I do have maybe a little bit of a request is that we know 10, 12, 14, and 25, the houses circled on the map are the affected property owners. And I think that's one of our key things. We knew selectmen were going to reach out and have meetings with them. So the best way to hear the update or words from those individuals that are the actual property owners, I think would be my preferred way to maybe start and understand if the Board of Selectmen, if Lisa has an update on where that is, and if any of those people are in attendance, if they might be able to kind of chime in relative to the zoning.
Very good. So, Sarah, why don't we just put up, so the people don't have to look at our faces. We could have the map, the downtown district map on the screen. Is that possible?
Sure. Yep, let me just. see
And
I
then
can
if the public wants to go to a different screen, like the language in the bylaw, we can go to that too.
Don, while Sarah is loading that, just a quick update that we received an email from William Sines from the ADA committee, who gave some feedback on both this public hearing and the prior public hearing. So when the time is appropriate, I can read his paragraph when you're ready. Maybe after or now, when you choose. And then also,
Why don't you read it now? That'll give Sarah a little bit more time.
okay,
His paragraph isn't that long.
no, it's very short. So William Sines on July 7th sent an email that said ADA parking requirements would also apply to the downtown district, as would all other requirements specified in CMR 521. The downtown area is today significantly out of conformity with many ADA requirements. I am sure that the ADA committee would require future development to be in conformance with CMR 521 and would like to see this requirement called out in the new warrant article. Bill Sines. I believe he's chair of the ADA committee.
Yeah, and that email is very timely relative to this public hearing. Why don't I open it up to the public? If you're having trouble, Sarah, then we'll just do the best we can.
I am having a little trouble, so I'm actually gonna ask Marnie if she could possibly
Marnie?
Yep.
share, because she has assisted me.
I got my two
before.
monitors going. Yep,
I humbly
no problem.
ask
The
for
joy of
support.
working from home.
That's right.
I'm just getting it to,
Dropbox is just being slow.
yep. I'm just getting
While
it to-
Marnie's doing that, I'd like to add one more thing, Don, that I did receive some feedback from one of the residents, Kristen Connell, 15 Main Street, and that she is not a resident that owns a split lot, but she is someone outside of the district who would like to be included in the district. So I know that the Lisa Braccio and her team were reaching out to residents with split lots, but they may want to consider also talking to some folks like 15 Main Street who didn't have a split lot, but also have some input.
Rena, sorry, which number was that?
15,
15,
Main Street.
that's up here.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a party that was possibly interested in being included in the new downtown district. So I just wanted
Okay.
to, that's the feedback we've received at the planning office at this point.
So at the risk of sending this into a much better start, if I ask Lisa to speak, she always has a way of getting things going.
All right, good evening. Can you hear me?
We can. Hi,
Hi,
welcome.
good evening. Thank you so much, everybody. Just if I may add a couple things, Don, before we talk about the map and the abutters as well.
Sure.
I wanted to thank the planning board, Don, and the suggestion for moving the town meeting to November. It made complete sense. The board supported that and approved that at our last meeting. Also, thankful that Mimi is able to meet. The goal is to meet for the design guidelines. Next week, I believe Judy has the 28th available. We're just tying up the date so we can start those discussions. Originally, when planning board had received a copy, it was actually from Hopkinton, and Judy felt it was for a very specific purpose for their Main Street. So she felt that Northborough was a better guide, and it worked out that Mimi as well had been looking at Northborough and thought that it tied in nicely. So those conversations will start next week. Let's see, I wanted to acknowledge there certainly is some concern and issues with the map. And I know the Board of Selectmen were looking forward to these hearings and hopefully being able to get some suggestions and some guidance as well from the planning board. I know we are still working to meet with all of the abutting lot owners. They've been recognized. The EDC has spoken to some of them. I believe Marika's had some general conversations with them. We're going to continue those with a nice sit-down meeting, hopefully soon. So, and as well, Ms. Cannell had reached out from 15 Main Street as well. She had reached out to the board, but I know when the board initially started this, there was no interest in expanding the district. The board was looking to either keep the district that was currently in place or, make necessary changes as needed. I just wanted the planning board to be aware as well, the draft of the downtown district that you have in front of you. There was only a few changes that the board had made to those. One of them was, I know there was much discussion on the 2,000 or 3,000 square feet per establishment. The board, based on feedback from Judy Barrett, as well as some diagrams that we were able to see what that would actually entail for an establishment that EDC had put together, the board voted to keep it at the 3,000 up for further discussion if need be. The board also had incorporated the changes, and thank you to Marnie and Mimi for meeting with, having a discussion with Adam Costa, and the language that you had agreed on at your meeting under the mixed use development was incorporated. One of the other things the board did was we took 4 stories completely out of the document. And what was the last piece? Bear with me 1 second. I have it in front of me.
It was the FAR.
FAR.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we went back to the 0.35 to what we had a lot of discussion on, and there was, I'm going to say general consensus. I'm not going to say complete consensus back in November. So the board had put that back in as well. So thank you. Thank you very much for that correction. So, and the 4th piece was obviously we brought the map forward that, we currently have, hoping for some guidance or some direction from planning board. I think you've given us a little bit of that tonight, Dawn, so I thank you for that. But any other suggestions from the board as well? I know one of the other things the board is going to be looking at was, we've had a lot of feedback under the mixed use development definition, where it talks about the 10% having to be non-residential. And I know I've heard a lot of feedback and a lot of concern up on there you go. First, going to the second page, that that number may not be the number that we want to move forward with as you look to some uses. So that's something else that's going to have future discussion on, hopefully through here. I think the goal of the board is, in adding the extra meetings, is November 1st is the new town meeting date. So we would hoping to be able to incorporate as many changes as we can by the end of September, beginning of October. So the goal would be to have the least amount of amendments on town meeting floor. So I know that was long-winded. I hope that answered some of your questions, and obviously I'm certainly available to answer any others. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's open it up to the public. Who wants to go first?
Sarah, could you possibly also give a quick rundown of who's in the attendees?
Yep, we have Lisa, who we just heard from. Someone identified only as Tim, Kristen Connell, Andrew Dennington, someone only identified as Beth, Bill Harrington, Chris Robbins, Claire Reynolds, someone only identified as Gail, Karen Connell, Kevin Miller, Marcy Jones, Marika Munsiff, Michelle Hokinson, Ray Hokinson, and Sam Stivers. So
Thank you.
Tim, I'm gonna allow you to talk. All set?
Hello. Yes, thanks for letting me speak. This is Tim. I'm from 18 Main Street. One of the things that I would like to ask about regarding the map would be if there's any interest, or I'd like the board to maybe consider looking at expanding. Like I know I wouldn't mind if my property was included in the district, being so entrenched in what the district is. So that's something I wouldn't mind the board taking a look at, and maybe expanding, as long as property owners are okay with it, if it would go up further west to possibly Route 85. But since 11 Main Street is directly across the street from my property, I'm very interested in at least being included in it, since I'm kind of surrounded by it. The second thing that I would like to bring up is the floor area ratio. And I know that there's renderings being done of what that could look like maxed out. So I'm kind of curious to know if that is the right way to look at a building, if we should be using a floor area ratio, if it should be a lot coverage. I know it can result in skyscraper-like buildings possibly. So I know there's renderings that were hopefully going to be done to kind of alleviate any of those kind of concerns. So it's something I would like to bring back up.
All set for now,
Thank
Tim?
you.
Yep, that's it for now. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes. I'm just going to go down the line in order of appearance. So we have Kristen Connell,
Hello, this is Kristen.
Hello, welcome.
Thanks, everyone. I am the owner of 15 Main Street. I am asking that 15 Main Street be included in the downtown business district. 15 Main Street is a multi-family property. And we expect it to continue to be a multi-family property for the foreseeable future. However, because of its location, where we have St. Mark's on one side, St. Mark's has recently kind of developed the former home of Mrs. Campbell, putting in a sort of a long driveway and making that into a multifamily property to one side. And then we have the office building of 11 Main Street on the other side. So my rationale is that 15 Main Street is already functioning as a multi-use property. We have an easement on the property so that the daycare's playground is operating in the rear of 15 Main Street. And also 11 Main Street's septic system is on the residential lot at 15 Main Street. So 15 Main is already, I would say, completely linked to the office building at 11 Main Street. It's already functioning that way. So I would just ask if we can maybe formalize that in a business use that frankly we would expect not to use in the near term. In the near term, my sister Karen expects to continue to reside at 15 Main Street and continue to operate the property as a multifamily residence. However, it's very easy for me as the owner of the property to see a scenario in the future where we might like to open an office there or use a retail type occupancy on the bottom floor. So it seems to me that this is the best time for me to come forward and ask for 15 Main to be included in the district.
Yes,
Can I-
Marty.
Kristen, thanks for the statement. By any chance, have you reviewed the bylaw, the downtown district bylaw? And, you know, given the perspective that you would be hopeful to be part of that downtown district, is there anything that draws concerns or anything that you've read, or do you kind of like it all? Or
No,
any
I mean,
feedback on that?
I'm largely in favor. I think
Okay.
it's to be a real plus for my property at 15 Main and the town. So we're largely in favor of it, which is part of the reason we want to be part of the future.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes. We're gonna go to Ray Wilkinson.
Can you hear me?
How you doing, Ray? We can hear you.
I think he lost the microphone, Sarah. There we go. Now he just has to be unmuted.
Well, I was unmuted. Somebody muted me again.
There you go.
Okay.
Ray, can you also state your address?
10 Main Street. I live at 10 Main Street and I own 12 Main Street.
Thanks.
And technically we're sort of sandwiched then between Ladisquama and the law office, the former general store that's at 14 Main Street. So first of all, I wrote a letter to the selectmen, to the planning board, and to the EDC back it's April and May, when the proposal for 15 Main Street first came forward about becoming requesting to become part of the business district. And I enumerated a lot of the history behind that at that time in that letter. And so I'm not going to repeat it, at least to this group. Maybe to anybody else who's listening, very briefly, the village residents of that block fought the issue back in the 80s, probably, when 11 Main Street tried to expand onto 15 Main Street and basically take control of it. It was a time when a proposal went to the town meeting for a real historic district in downtown. That did not go forward, but the residents took the 11 Main Street and 15 Main Street owner to court and came up with a compromise. And for the longest time, we had restrictive covenants that came out of that law decision. So basically, in the past, the residents have fought very hard to keep the Main Street, particularly the Main Street historic residences, as a residential district. And I have to say that when I bought my property, eyes wide open, what attracted me to this neighborhood was the historic residential character of my neighborhood. And that's how I see it. I see it as a mixed residential and business neighborhood. But very clearly, I have to advocate on behalf of the residential character of the neighborhood. And I'd like to keep it that way. Don Morris will also know that I was vigorously an attendee to the ZAC meetings back 8-10 years ago. And what drew me into that effort at that time was also the proposal to expand the village business district straight up Main Street. And the neighbors opposed that vigorously. And Don will remember that we had probably 80 village residents at the ZAC Village Review meeting. And I think pretty much after that meeting, after they got that feedback, after they got the view of people that live in the village, live in the villages at that time, which included Fayetteville as well, that they backed off on that approach and changed their mind. And so that's my comment on that. I think In my letter, I said that we're still, many residents on that block still are against it. I think the statement that because they're a business, well, somebody has to abut the business. I abut the business. I'm not asking to become part of the business district just because there's one next door. A multi-residential property, well, there's other multi-residential properties, then they're still just residences. They're not businesses. There's a big change if that zone changes from residential to business. It just opens an incredible change. And without getting too political, I'll at least very briefly say 15 Main Street has apparently an approved demolition order that they can demolish their historic house. And now not only do they want to demolish the historic house, but now they want to become a business. So that's always been our concern as residential property, that this could be really creeping issue, domino theory effect. And that has been our concern. And I just really want to voice that here, because when I listen to people who are attending, I'm certainly one that will continue to fight that effort. Okay, so that's it on that topic. And that's my concern about expanding it. And earlier on, I got at least a few verbal messages from other boards that they had no interest in expanding the district. And I think you have a real can of worms trying to get this thing through town meeting as is, just to try to convince the town that we want to make these changes and without sort of whole hog trying to expand this district. So that's what I'm done with that topic. I also, somewhere along the line, I think somebody briefly said something about, there's a number about the minimum amount of a property that was non-residential was 10%. And I think that maybe somebody will change that. But I guess that's one of the issues that I would like to see addressed somewhere along the line, is a lot of best case, worst case scenarios that can happen in this plan. You know, it's a relatively small area. You know, the downtown village business district is what it is. 11 Main Street is what it is. But I'd really like to see sort of best case, worst case scenarios. And is it possible that when we sit there talking about economic development, and we're talking about, oh, well, we're going to get ice cream shops and boutiques and this, that, and the next thing, what's the likelihood that we're going to get a bunch of apartment buildings? Seriously, pure, unadulterated residential change. I'd really like to see somewhere along this line to convince town meeting that we've gone through the numbers and that we can understand the best case and worst case scenarios. And in addition to that, I've never seen, since this is economic development, maybe this goes back to the EDC, I've never seen somebody produce sort of either a spreadsheet analysis or numerical analysis that describes what the economic benefit could be, best case, worst case, from these rules, from these changes. That's the motivation. And they're dangling these carrots saying, oh, we're going to get this, we're going to get this. And those individual things are attractive. But are we really going to get it? For somebody who's been in this town for 28 years, I predict we'll see another law office, another dry cleaners, it's, you know, those type of things. Those are really what you're going to get, probably. So I'd really like to see that sort of numbers worked through. I guess, kind of covers it with the exception of the design guidelines. I'd like to see both of those options somewhere posted, the Northborough option and the Hopkinton option. The fact that Hopkinton only addressed Hopkinton Main Street, well, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see what their proposal was for their Main Street. Because to be honest with you, as a model of a town, I'd really like to see us model ourselves more on downtown Hopkinton than on downtown Northborough. Because I don't think downtown Northborough is something to aspire to. I've driven through it and I don't see anything particularly attractive about what it looks like now. maybe they're trying to change it. Let me go through my notes here and see what else I got. So I'm sorry, I don't know how we address that, but I think somewhere along the line, if people can begin to work through those numbers, I tried to go through the planning and tried to myself try to draw some best case, worst case scenarios. But I think that's something that we'd really like to work our way through to really understand what this plan means. And it seems to me that the design guidelines are critical, because when I read the previous one, the template, it was all very, this would be nice, this would be nice, you should try to do this. And I think if they're design guidelines, they really have to be quantitative. You know, I want to say you must do this type effects. Because I think these by right zoning rules all of a sudden remove the planning board and other people's option to review what is happening. So we really ought to make sure that what we're going to get is what we want. I'm sorry I talked a lot there, but that's what I have to say for now. Thank you.
Ray, at the earlier in your opening, you mentioned the 10%, and Sarah found it. If you can look on the screen,
Yep.
it's in that definition of mixed-use development.
Yep.
Do you
Yep,
see that?
I read that today. I was reading through this document, which is posted. At least 10% of the gross flare area of the structure must be, that's business related, right?
Mhm.
And so that implies to me that 90% of every building could be apartments and units. And when we're talking about economic development, I don't see it. So I just like to, you know, that is one of the sticking points that I see and would like to work through some real possibilities and understand what we could have.
Thank you. Who's next? Anyone?
Yes, we have Kevin Miller.
Hi, Planning Board.
Good evening.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again. And you know, can I, before I get going, the question was put to me by a friend the other day. Why is it that when I'm speaking on some of these calls, I'm always just a black box? And I said, well, that's because I'm not a panelist. I'm just a guy talking. But I just wanted to offer, if I'm not trying to inflict my ugly mug on anybody, but if you want me on, I'm happy to be on. Otherwise, I'll just talk. But I wanted to make the offer.
Could you just, for anyone new to the meeting, say your address?
I'm sorry, Kevin Miller at 18 Lattisquama.
Thank you.
And by the way, and thank you for reading out the list of attendees. I find that very helpful, and I wish that was done more often on various calls. The other small point I'd like to offer is that the map that you're showing, which is, I think, is a copy of, the one that was in the EDC's packet. I find much better the mapsonline.net maps that are town, certified. They're much more detailed and easier to read out, which might be helpful going forward if you're trying to show people in an online setting. In any case, discussion of Main Street having taken place with regard to the map, I'd like to turn to the other part, the split lots in the area that, as you know, is concerned me the most. And I'm going to try to be very to the point and succinct about this, while at the same time trying to bring something new to the table. I feel like I maybe have been a little slow in the uptake with this, but the clouds are beginning to part for me. And I'd like to offer the following thoughts. You know, when this was, it first came to my attention now, some 8 months ago or more, what I was getting was the assertion, that the map was the map and it had always been the map and all that kind of stuff. And no one had ever raised an objection to it, and which frustrated me when I started discovering that actually people had talked about the map, and it had been a point of contention. And over time, the thinking about this seemed to evolve more toward, well, it's this issue that the split lot owners don't want any change. And, you know, I really appreciated, I know it was Corinna who actually first clarified this for me on one of your calls many months ago, when she noted, and again, I'm ever grateful for it, that the creation of this new downtown district, it's not a question of using the old map. The very fact of the creation of the district creates the obligation, and as a legal matter, a new map. And if the new map happens to follow the contours of the old map, well, that's all well and good. But as a matter of law, it's a new map and a new district. So that's established, and I think now accepted by everyone. And if I'm incorrect, I hope someone will correct me. So it seems to me finally that there are three choices with regard to this map. And, you know, it's been universally acknowledged as well, and by my friends at the EDC, that this map is weird. You know, the term I picked up from them was wonky, and I agree. It's wonky, and you know in conversation with them, they say they would like it addressed. In fact, they would like planning to address it. And this is where it gets into this thing of who's got the responsibility for what. In any case, my concern, as you know, has been the split lots. And what I regard as the potential for a certain kind of mischief, a full quarter of a mile from Main Street, where there's really no logical reason for a downtown district that's devoted to commercial activity. It just doesn't belong there. So you have, for instance, all kinds of weirdnesses. Number 5 Park Street, which is that's the former towing company. It's J&J Automotive, an active business, a commercial garage, in which if you look at the map, it appears to my eye that less than half of the property actually would currently exist in the Business Village district, and therefore less than half of it would sit in the downtown district, and the rest of it is actually in Res B, which really, of course, doesn't make any sense. Then you proceed further south, you run into 10, 12, 14 Lattisquama, partially in the district, partially without. There's nothing that can be done there. It's from topography and a stream running through them. There's no benefit that's ever going to accrue to those owners. There's 25 Park. It extends all the way down to 2 Foley Drive, out to 35 Boston Road, which is another residential property. All split lots. It's hard to understand what the benefit to anybody could be. So you have a choice. First, it seems to me would be the process of downzoning, which is what I've advocated for a long time, I think without having the terminology for it. And you would, remove the split lots, remove those parcels and put them back into Res B like the rest of the surrounding neighborhood, right? Rationally based downzoning would be upheld by the courts. It's hard to see what economic benefit could be deprived. Let's take the craziest example. If you look at the map, number 2 Foley Drive. Okay, I have to say I have not had the pleasure of meeting the folks who live at 2 Foley Drive, but the district line cuts right through their house and through their swimming pool. So if they were to swim laps, they could swim half a lap in the new downtown district and half a lap in Res B, back and forth and back and forth. Beyond that, it's inconceivable, if they were downzoned, right, to be all in Res B, what would be the loss? And a similar thinking applies for all the affected properties, right? if you proceed along the contours of the existing map of what will be the former business village district, you'd effectively be engaging in spot zoning, right? In which a small parcel of land, is used for a classification completely different from that of the surrounding area for the benefit of the owner of such property and to the detriment of other owners, i.e. the abutters. Spot zoning effectively would be taking place if you were to apply the former outline of the map to the new district. Third alternative would be, and again, I would support down zoning. The third alternative, it seems to me, would be, for quite a while, the rationale, in fact, the only rationale I've gotten, again, if I'm incorrect, someone should correct me, but it seems that the only rationale that's being offered for preserving the split lots is that the present owners might like it that way, and they want to keep it that way, right? So my argument is, yes, let's keep it that way. But what does that mean? Because the creation of a downtown district is a new district and a new map. If you want to keep things the way they are for the split lot owners, not deny them of anything they currently have, right? Then split the downtown district, just like we have Res A and Res B in this town, and industrial district and industrial park district. You could have downtown district A and downtown district B. In downtown district A, which would run along Main Street, the affected portion of Newton, Boston Road, and the paved portion of Park Street, which is about 200 feet, right? Downtown district A would take advantage of the by right zoning that is being advocated by the EDC. Downtown district B, which would be all that stuff south of the paved portion of Park Street. It would be the split lots at 10, 12, 14 Lattiscarma, 25 Park, 2 Foley Drive, 35 Boston Road. All that stuff can be downtown district B, subject to the current zoning regulations. In other words, no change whatsoever. So you would be taking nothing away, absolutely nothing. They'd still be in a business district. But what would occur, that any proposal that was brought forward would be brought forward subject to the review, site review, and supervision of the planning board. I would say, like God intended, right? That planning would have the final say on anything. And what would that do? It would, if it is the desire of the Main Street business owners and abutters and people that are directly affected down there, that you guys want by right zoning down there, more power to you, have at it. I live a quarter of a mile away, but I live exactly abutting the proposed downtown district. Well, if the point is not to deny split lot owners of their current rights, I would say, let's not deny them of a gosh darn thing. Let's just keep the status quo, business district, and you can call it whatever you want. You could call the stuff south of the paved portion of Park Street, just keep it as business village district, and nobody would have had anything taken away from them. Or you could call it downtown district B. I don't care. But you would confine the by right zoning, which is the scary part for people like me. The scary part is you just can't tell what you're going to get. And when the by right zoning is taking power away from planning, right? I mean, it finally, as I've seen the light, right? And frankly, if anything is ever going to go on in the property right behind me, I'd like to have the good, smart folks at the planning board have their traditional role in oversight. That's all I have for the moment. I really appreciate your patience. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, did you get that? Did you get that part about good and smart planning board? Anyone else?
Yes, we have Claire, who's been patiently waiting. Claire Reynolds. Claire, you all set?
Hi. Thank you, Sarah.
Good evening, Claire.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is just a quick comment.
Claire, could you please just identify your?
Oh, I'm
residence?
sorry. Okay, I'm Claire Reynolds. I live at 104 Main Street,
Thank
which
you.
is west of the downtown area. There's a consistent issue with the zoning map. No matter what side of the fence you are on it, this is something that has been going on for a while. So my question is who's going to take responsibility of the zoning map? Because it seems to me that in order for this to pass at town meeting, there's going to have to be, however it's put together, a second article or whatever to redraw the zoning map. If I'm incorrect, please let me know. So my question is it's a zoning issue. So who is going to take responsibility for that? Thank you.
Could you explain what you mean by responsibility?
Well, the question of the zoning map has come up over and over again. This is something that no matter who looks into it, they can't figure out how it initially came up. It doesn't make any difference. But the fact of the matter is that the 2006 zoning map has it drawn the way it is. So if it has to be changed, whose responsibility is it to work with the recommendations or however it goes in order to move this article forward?
I have my ideas on that, on answering that, but I'll open it up to the board members before I speak on that. Anyone on the board? It would seem to me that the next, hopefully at our continued public hearing in August, we may have revised maps that would show the properties that where the people want to add to the district. Maybe another map that would show, reflect what Mr. Miller was suggesting. As the public hearing proceeds, I think public and the neighbors would get a better view of potential options by having different maps available to look at.
So thanks for that, which is a really important point. But the other part of it is the question or the comment keeps coming up about, well, the residents, this, that, and the other thing, they want to know whatever it is that they want to know. But the fact of the matter is, over the last 4 public hearings that have taken place, nobody has stood up other than 2 residents, abutters, whatever, to talk about it. So my question is, and especially since Marika, as an EDC member, had actually reached out to the abutters. There was supposed to be a letter that was going to go out from the Board of Selectmen. No letter ever went out. And Marika went out and contacted people, and she knows exactly what everybody feels. So my question is, you have 2 people who are speaking on the map, which is fine because they have concerns. But at some point in time, where does the process come in for those? I mean, you already know that you have somebody who wants to add their property into the district. So how is that whole process handled? That's my question.
I'll try to answer it by saying that
Thank you.
process. I'll try to answer it by saying that that process is the public hearing.
Okay. So what you need then is you need people at the future public hearings who want to become either one side of the district or the other. I mean, this is a binary choice. You either want to stay as is, or you want to be, either the Resby or the business village. So it's very strange. And I mean, is that the process that you're looking at?
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you. Who's
Can I
next?
just- Actually, can I just ask a question? So I think that was my kind of request. I know Lisa had said she was going to reach out to the owners of 10, 12, 14, 25 to 5 that are kind of have these split lots. And we still haven't heard from any of those. Claire makes a good point. There have been we haven't heard from any of those property owners. If there's a document that exists where there's been signatures or those residents have had conversations with Marika, it would be really helpful for us to see those, because there's no transparency to understanding what is happening with other people on that street.
Right. Well, thank you, Monty, because that's an excellent point. Marika has reached out to everybody. There has been no letter that ever went out from the Board of Selectmen, but she contacted everybody. So I know that she could pull that together, and the follow-up could be if everybody had to provide that in an email or whatever. I'm sure that would be what would give you the confidence that everybody had been contacted.
And just for clarity, it would be helpful, and I think this was just raised by Michelle Hokinson to the panelists as well, is just understanding the mode of contact, if it was a telephone call or outreach or how that happened. But my guess is that anybody who is in a butter to this entire downtown district, not just the split lots, it would be super important for them to be part of this. Unlike a kind of a site plan or where abutters are recognized with the green certified mail, I don't think we have to do that in this process. But I think it's an important thing that all those abutters that are implicated in this downtown district have some level of a voice. And unfortunately, the summer months really stink, because I think most of our town goes to Chatham for the summer. So it makes it a little bit challenging for people to come in and have conversations or attend these meetings.
Yeah, that's a good point. But don't forget, Marika dropped packages off physically at everybody's abutters and in the area, dropped packages off at their households and then followed up. So
yeah, that's helpful. I wasn't
yeah.
aware of that.
Yeah.
So I guess, Claire, is that something that EDC, or I don't even know if you're on EDC, or Marika can help pull that together? Marika, I know you're on the call, but I wonder if that's something you're willing to help provide transparency, because I mean, that's just kind of a black box for all of us. So it's the public meetings are really here for people to voice those. And I understand Don's request to have these as the forum for exchange, and it's challenging when people don't attend them.
So I don't know if Marika is still on. I am not on the EDC. However, so here's how I'm involved. I wrote the grant that the town got the $50,000 for zoning assistance and for the wastewater. My concern is that, okay, so the grant money ran out at the end of June. We used $43,000 of the $50,000, which was great because it allowed the town to get exactly what they needed as far as the zoning consulting help and Adam Costa's help. There are future grants. One we also have in the wind with the same agency, the EEA, which is the Energy and Environmental, that wants to help towns with this work. And my concern is that after 9 months plus, we still don't have anything to really show we've made a lot of progress, but we still don't have anything that the various boards are in agreement with. Now, the timeframe for voting has been put off because the original March town meeting got postponed to May, which got postponed to October, and now it's gotten postponed to November. Somebody could look at this, and everybody should really pay attention to this, folks. Somebody could look at this and say, I understand that zoning takes a long time, but how the heck long does it take to come to some type of an agreement for a 13-acre parcel of land? My concern is that you don't want the money that is available to all of these towns to go away because they don't see us making progress. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Marika, you should be all set to speak.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. My name is Marijke Munsef. I live on 92 Sears Road. I'm also the EDC coordinator. Thank you, Claire, for bringing all those items to the attention. I just wanted to first say that the whole reason why we're actually, first of all, the EDC started out with a zoning update. The reason why we need a new downtown district is because the business village district involves 3 different areas. So it's the downtown, it's Fayetteville, and it's Corderville. Those are the business village. That's all business village district. We were just focused on the downtown area. So that's why if we were to change or update the zoning for the business village district, and that would basically make life a lot easier because we don't have to address changing the color of the zoning map, then those changes would apply to all 3 villages. We wanted to focus on the downtown. So that's why we need a new district, and we've called it the downtown district. Concerning the split lots, first of all, actually, I've like Claire said, together with Claire in the winter, March of, when was it, 2020 probably, or no, it was 2021. We hand delivered information packages to all properties within the business village district in the downtown area, as well as abutters. Later on, I followed up with all the split lot owners once the whole map issue came up. And I've spoken to all 7 of them, or no, I've spoken to 6 of the 7 split lot owners. I haven't been able to get hold of one person. They don't all live on La Desquama. There's one, there are actually 2 on Park Street, 3 on La Desquama Road, 1 on Foley Drive, and 1 on Boston Road. My question is kind of the same as what Claire brought up, is who is going to, propose, or who's going to decide what will be brought to town meeting regarding the map? If you have, for instance, 5 split lot owners who don't want anything changed, 1 split lot owner who wants to be included, wants their entire property to be included in the downtown district, maybe 1 abutter or 2 abutters who oppose any changes or who want basically the downtown district to focus on Main Street. And you have Main Street owner who's currently not in the downtown district and they want to be included. How are you going to weigh those different opinions? I mean, who has the final say or the final say in what will be proposed at town meeting? Thank you.
It would seem that if we got to the point where we were down to a few options or multiple options, that the planning board would probably, I would recommend huddling with the Board of Selectmen and the ETC. And then just figuring out which of the options, which of the different variations we would bring forward. But that would be toward the end of the public hearing, probably in October or sooner if there's no additional information. We received additional information tonight that we didn't have before, so see where it takes us, but I would recommend it, the final version of the map to be presented for vote at town meeting be the result of a joint meeting between the planning board, Board of Selectmen, and the EDC.
John, could I chime in with one comment?
Of course.
I think referring back to, I think Mr. Miller had mentioned something about, demonstrating the economic benefits of particular scenarios of what would actually happen when he was using the terms best and worst case. And what comes to my mind is that if you do come up with, 3 different variations of a zoning boundary, that maybe associated economic benefit to compare an analysis that shows, well, if we have the zone that looks like this, it benefits the town in this way, whether it's, you can say economically how it benefits it, community-wise, socially, all that stuff. And then you have this, here's the other boundary that does not include the split lots. And then, just speaking to that analysis that I think Mr. Miller had brought up, that was kind of an interesting idea. That way you could compare, and the people could see the facts of which scenario might be beneficial. I don't know if that would bring people together, but at least it would show the meaning of each boundary outline. That's all, just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Anyone else?
We do have a hand up, from folks that have already spoken, so we could cycle back through, or I'll defer to you, Don, how you'd like to handle that.
Also, Don, just so that you're aware, in the chat room, there's conversation and questions going on, and maybe Sarah, you can, it's what might be the best way to handle those? Do they need to be read, or are they picked up in some kind of recording or documentation? If you click on your chat, you can see, if you click on your chat icon at the bottom of the screen, you can see where folks have chimed in who are attendees.
If there's no one new that wants to speak, and only those who have already talked, let's go back to them, but with the rule that let's not go over something that's already been said, only something that would be in addition to what we've heard so far.
Okay, start back up at the top again. Ray Holkinson, you all set?
Hello, this is again Ray Hokinson, 10 Main Street. I'm going to be very brief this time with just 2 small points. Claire seemed to say that Marika reached out to all abutters, and that didn't happen. I do know that she reached out to split lot owners, so clarification. As an abutter, I've only spoken to Lisa B. I can't pronounce her last name. I'm not good at those things. And she gave me a call from the selectmen, but that was it. And just one comment about zoning. In my opinion, zoning really is for stability and protection. It's an issue of stability for a community. You know what your rights are, and you know what your neighbor's rights are. And I don't think it's like it's not a crapshoot. Well, we changed our mind. When I bought a house, it was a residential property. I knew who my neighbors were, and I bought it as such. And that's part of the stability of a community and a neighborhood. And so I just want to reinforce that don't treat zoning casually, as I think some of these conversations are occurring. It's not a casual issue. It's actually quite an issue of stability. And it's important for a community and a neighborhood. Thank you. That's my last comment.
Sarah?
Okay, we have Kevin Miller again.
I'll be quick. First of all, Ray Hoganson deserves all the credit for the economic analysis suggestion. I'm not the one that made it. To respond to a comment about how can an abutter decide whether split lot owners should have their boundary changed? Well, that's exactly my point. I'm offering the proposal in a spirit of conciliation and getting it fixed. In that, again, what I'm suggesting is by splitting the downtown district into A and B, you leave B alone. You leave it under the current business village district regulations. And you can find the, which then would disenfranchise no one from their current situation.
Yeah,
And
but
then-
I think you already explained that.
Right. So I just want to be clear that that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to change the boundary for anybody. In fact, I'm trying to leave the folks who want to be left alone. And if you want to add goodies along Main Street, that can be, that's your debate. So yeah, that's there's something else I'm forgetting, but it's okay. It'll hold for another time. Thank you very much, Mr. Morris.
Thank you.
Claire, you're all set?
I'll be very quick. Thank you, Sarah. Folks, the studies that have been done since 2008, starting with the 2008 master plan, the ZAC, the 2015 Shopsy report, all of these individual reports have cost taxpayers over $150,000. So as far as the economic impact, all of these reports have said the same thing. They want to see something happen in the downtown area. So there's your economic impact. And I think that with a little bit more research on my part, I can get that number up to $175,000 from money that has been approved at town meeting in order to get a study where all of them come out with the same results. Thank you very much.
I'm
Thank you.
confused on that. Is that, you're saying that we've spent that much money? It's not the amount of money the town's going to get by doing this, right?
No. It's the amount of money that has been spent. So in other words, if you go back to all of
Okay,
the,
that's fair, Claire. But I think the question is, what's the benefit to the town if we do this? And I recall like one of the first meetings we had, myself and I think Mimi even asked, like, what is the town? What's the economic benefit that the town is going to get by doing this? As
okay,
part
well,
of the charge.
that's a very good question.
And we were told that there was no economic benefit by doing
Well,
it.
you were told incorrectly, in my opinion. So here's the thing.
It was at the
But-
time, it was the chair of the EDC that said that.
Well, I don't know because I wasn't the chair of the EDC. However, what you need to realize is that I talked with the assessor, and when you look at what you can get from your building fees, from your taxes, from your revenue that you have, you can compile all of that, and we're leaving money on the table. It's a financial argument, which is cut and dry.
But I think that's what the question was. What is that? What are we leaving on the table?
But I've worked with the assessor to put together some figures, and I can update them.
Okay. That'd be great.
It's not, I am not EDC. I am looking at this from the standpoint as a taxpayer and a resident who says the town needs revenue. Okay. Anybody who drives down Main Street heading into Westboro and sees the amount of people lined up at Ullman's for an ice cream cone says, wow, why aren't we doing this in our town? That's just one little example. But the thing
Claire,
is,
the same thing, people drive down Route 9, and this is what's being said in the chat too. Well, what about all the empty buildings on Route 9? Why
exactly,
are we
and
focusing
that
on 13 acres
exactly,
in downtown when
and I'm very
Route 9
glad
is-
that you, Andrew, I'm very glad that you brought that up, because that is the the newest request that we have, that the town has put in as a grant from the EEA, which is the same government agency that gave us the $50,000 for the downtown. So this next one is focusing on exactly what you said, which is Route 9 and what we need to do there. And if the town does not show that we can get together to provide zoning for a 13-acre parcel of land, then why are they going to give us the $50,000 that we're requesting to start the initial work for Route 9? You bring up a very good point, and the EDC has already addressed it.
Well said, Andrew.
I mean, if, Claire, you're saying that it's been addressed because they're asking for a grant? I don't think that's addressed. It's just, they're starting to look at it. Is that correct?
No,
Route 9?
how else are you going to address development on Route 9 without looking at the number one issue, which is your wastewater problem that you have there? So the town has not come up with any money. The state is offering money. All we need to do is provide grants. It is provide the information for why we need that money and what we can do with it. But the thing is that everybody has to realize the state is going to look at how have they used previous money that has been provided to them. It's very, very simple. And I'm really glad that you brought this up, because the big thing, if you talk to any developers, we don't have sewers in this town. And that's been a big thing on Route 9. The state has tons of money through all of these infrastructure plans that is being made available. And as a town, we need to show that we have a plan to be able to say, and I'm not saying sewers for the whole town. I'm just saying, what can you do along Route 9? You have the office parks.
Excuse me, pardon me, but we're starting to drift away from the downtown district if we're talking about Route 9. I want to make sure we stay within the bounds of public hearing. Anyone else all set, Andrew, for now?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Who's next?
We have Marika. Marika, you all set?
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to jump in on the economic benefit. If we don't do anything, if we don't update the zoning, nothing will change. And what's currently happening in the downtown is there is not even a status quo. There is not a preservation of historic whatever. There's a decline of business activity. Talk to any of the business in downtown and they will tell you that they want this change because they need customers. They need other successful businesses to be successful. We had a flower shop. The owners retired. Now we have a Downtown Exchanges there. And they're already struggling because they said no one comes to downtown. So look at 2 East Main Street. It's been empty for more than a decade. Does it, provide any tax revenue for the town? Maybe just a few dollars, but if you would have a business down there, it would, give you town tax revenue. That's why we're doing this. We want a vibrant downtown. We want something where the community can gather, and we want some small local businesses to be able to be there. This will have a positive effect on businesses, attracting businesses to Route 9 as well. People are always looking for places to have lunch or places to grab a cup of coffee. I mean, I work in the townhouse. I go home to have my lunch because there's nowhere to go. I mean, I'm not going to drive to Westboro or to Framingham, which is another thing. We're losing not just Southborough residents are not spending money in our own town. Other, nearby communities could come to Route 9 or anywhere and spend money in Southborough, and that would benefit our taxes or our income. Why are things not happening on Route 9? Partly, and these studies have been done for, again, like Claire said, there have been study after study after study since 2008, the master plan, the housing production plan, I mean, you name it, every single study points to the same thing. We need an update in the zoning. We need more flexibility, especially now after the whole pandemic. I mean, we are struggling because many people are not returning to their offices. So what do we need to advertise? More empty office space? Or are we going to be flexible and be able to offer some kind of mixed use on those locations? So that's why the EDC has put in an application for a grant to look at the zoning on Route 9, as well as address the infrastructure problems that have been there for many years. The EDC speaks to business owners, to property owners, and the same things keep coming up: infrastructure and zoning issues. I just had an inquiry from a business. They wanted to open. They wanted to rent a space on Crystal Pond Road, and they were
Excuse
asking,
me,
how long
we're
does it
starting to get
how
back
long
to
does it take
talking
to
about
connect
Route
to
9, and this is
Ipswich? And we
about the
don't have it.
downtown.
I'm just answering Mr. Mill's point there. And the other one quick thing I wanted to say, Mr. Ray Hokinson said he was not approached by the EDC. What I said is I provided information packets to everyone, including him, but I only spoke directly or telephoned the split lot owners. So that's correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Luttrell. Go ahead, Mimi.
So Marika was saying that this code update is to bring in businesses to the downtown. But that begs the question why the code is written that the mixed use has a minimum of 10% that is non-residential. It seems to me that that's encouraging residential in the downtown, which does not necessarily bring in revenue, as we've found out.
Thank you.
So I think Lisa would like to make some closing remarks.
Oh, good. Closing remarks for tonight.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Sarah. I wanted to thank everybody that tuned in tonight, that gave really great feedback as we move forward. Thank you to the planning board. I know that this was probably a longer of a public hearing that you had hoped for tonight, and I know how long meetings go, and sometimes it's nice not to have them quite as long. That being said, I just want to, again, thank you. I will take back a lot of the feedback. Kate, I feel sorry for you because I have 3 pages of notes just from this discussion alone. So you have your work cut out for you. But again, I want to just, again, thank everybody. I will take the feedback back to the board. I'm very encouraged on the discussion with the map, Don, and I think all of us working together can come up with a great solution. So that being said, thank you all and have a great night. That's it.
Thank you, Lisa. We will see you in August. Is there any more questions or comments from the public?
No.
Now, board members, we're going to entertain a motion to continue this public hearing to.
Don, could I just interrupt real quick? And if Sarah could just say one last time at the closing of this, the attendees, just the numbers and generally if anyone new has arrived.
No, we currently have 17 attendees. Michael Weisham is the someone who attended
newly
the interim at some point, and Sam Stivers also has been on for the bulk of the discussion, but I didn't mention him in my first read through of the attendees.
I think Sam is the staple of all our meetings.
Yes, yes.
Thanks, Sarah.
So, is it August 16th?
Correct.
But before we entertain that motion, does the board have any expectations or requests from our staff between now and August 16th relative to the draft code revision, the map? And we know that the design guideline meeting is next week, the 28th, I guess. So I want to make sure that we're clear with the public relative to having the town planner or her assistant to have a homework assignment from this meeting, from this part of the hearing. Not to say that we wouldn't have one. If there's none tonight, there may be others in the future, but yes, go ahead, Mimi.
I would just request, I was listening to the EDC meeting and Julie Connolly had told the committee that she had several revisions that she wanted to make as a result of meeting with a architect to do renderings. So maybe we could find out from her what those changes are that she wants to make. And
So you would have the town planner or Sarah reach out to Julie?
or Marika, if the committee knows what those changes are.
Are these changes to the design guidelines?
No, to the zoning code.
Oh, there's more zoning code changes that they're working on to the draft bylaw that is currently posted as part of the public hearing.
Evidently, yes.
In like visual aspects or changes to the context?
Changes to the facade requirements, open space requirements, setback requirements.
Okay, we can reach out to Julie and see what they have cooking.
I just think it would be good for us to know what it is that we're,
Yeah, I didn't even
We're
know they were
reviewing.
doing that. I thought we were close to like the last 4 types of change, 4 types of criteria that we're still trying to iron out and just finalize. So there's new criteria that, okay, we'll do some research and some investigation and see what feedback we get.
thank you.
Mr. Mills?
Yeah, Don, first, just one point. Sarah, I don't know if you mentioned Andrew Dennington. I think he's been on for the entire time. He's texted me originally when we had the technical difficulties, but
Yeah, I think I read his name, but
yeah, okay.
if not,
Um,
sorry.
The other thing, I think Ray Holkelson pointed out the point of trying to get, and I don't want to make this too cumbersome, but the comparison or maybe a bullet point piece of between Northborough and Hopkinton design guidelines that might be helpful. What might be key to keep Southborough still looking like Southborough, I think is what Ray was trying to say, compared to morphing into something different rapidly. That's how I interpret it. I mean, if there was, and maybe it's already out there and I just need to be pointed to it, but I think that was a good takeaway. And if does that make sense, Karina?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Ray brought up before that in the
Yeah, there
design
were 2.
guidelines,
Yeah.
and he was pointing out that in his opinion that the Hopkinton ones seem to have kept Hopkinton with a historic feel, where in Ray's opinion Northborough wasn't, had rapidly been changing, is what I interpreted that he was saying. If there was a way to point out what those key elements might be or differences, I think that would be helpful.
Okay, we can do that. I understand.
Thank you.
Well,
And maybe it's already out there and I just didn't see it, but.
I thought that Ray was asking to see them himself. I mean, that's a bit of a project for Karina or Sarah to do that. Because if you've looked at the ones from Northborough, there's a lot there. So what I would suggest, Andrew, unless you disagree, but I just, at this point, if we just put what we had from Hopkinton on our website and what we had from Northborough, and let people see the whole enchilada, both sides,
Okay.
and not task our staff with that at this point.
That's fair.
So we can do that. We will find the Northborough and the Hopkinton, their downtown district equivalents, and post them on the planning board website. We'll also email them to the planning board members, so you have them right firsthand for reference.
You already did. You already sent those to the planning board members over the last 7-8 months or over the last
Okay.
year.
You're
That's-
right.
So feel free to send them to us again, but
Mhm.
you have them and you've already been capable of sending them to us.
Mhm.
Just put them on the website, let people take a look at them.
We can do that, have it in one spot. Yeah, I'm sorry. Through Mass Planners Forum, we get a multitude of examples of those, and we've been saving them. I've been saving them so that in case we need another reference, we can look back just to get an idea across. But absolutely, we'll get
Thank you.
those posted.
Okay, Andrew, that all right?
That'll work.
Go ahead, Marnie.
Sorry, last question is, I do think the ADA question, how does that get incorporated with the ADA requirements? And maybe that goes back to Lisa and EDC to discuss, because I think Andrew's brought up the parking situation every time on this downtown district, but I just want to make sure we incorporate the ADA concerns.
Well, just a little feedback on that from my experience. When you have parking design, typically there's accessible ADA compliant features shown on design plans. I think that as far as addressing it in like the downtown district bylaw, perhaps, or in the design guidelines, there'd just be a section that calls out that designs must be ADA compliant and must show them. I'm not sure that's necessarily pointed out anywhere other than maybe the parking and loading section of the town code. So maybe a reiteration or a reference back to where it is referenced already in the code, just to re-emphasize it. And then an understanding that when the planning board reviews site plans, to kind of make that a point to always call out.
Thank you.
Anyone else with tasks that we need our planning staff to work on between now and August 16th? Want to make sure that the public, if we're saying we're going to do something, that we know we're going to do it and who's going to do it and when it'll be done. Or the opposite, which is we'll see it at the next public hearing. We'll all continue to do our own version of homework and review and playing off ideas. But if there's nothing else, then there's two homeworks for the staff. One is to reach out to Julie, and the other is to post Hopkinton and Northborough on the town website. Was there anything else? Okay, I guess we should entertain a motion to continue the public hearing.
So moved for 7:15 p.m. on August 16th, 2021.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, Morris, yes?
Mills, yes.
Stein, yes.
Latrell, yes.
Houlihan, yes.
Very good. We'll see you all on the 16th. Next item on the agenda is an approval not required. 60 Oak Hill Road. We'll ask the town planner to update us on that.
Okay. Let's put this piece away. Okay. So the planning department received an application for endorsement of a plan believed not to require approval, which is an A&R for 60 Oak Hill Road, assessor map 31, parcel 31. It was filed with the town clerk on July 7th, 2021. Peter Bemis is the engineer or the engineering firm on record for submitting the plans. This property is again at 60 Oak Hill Road, which is actually related to some property to the rear on Old Mill Road, owned by Paul Bartolini. I reviewed the plan, some changes were made. There may be some questions from the planning board. Back in 2009, there was an A&R endorsed by the planning board. And Sarah, maybe you can get the plan up on the screen.
Yes, I think I can.
Okay.
Can everybody see it?
Here we go. So this is the current A&R for review by the planning board members. So in 2009, it's my understanding that parcel A that you see there was created, and it was the entirety of parcel A, B, and C. And now the applicant is looking to break out parcel B and C from parcel A and convey in the future parcel B to the lot to the left owned by Leo Bartolini, lot 2. And then parcel C, the intent is to convey it to the golf range to the right, which is to the north, right there. So Mr. Bemis is here, so perhaps he'd like to elaborate, Don, if that's the next step.
Mr. Bemis, good evening.
Yes, good evening. Parcels B and C, as Karina has outlined, will be transferred to the abutting properties. B goes to 2, and A goes to the PLB LLC property, which is the town line driving range. Mr. Bartolini is just trying to get his estate matters together here, and parcel A is going to just be made smaller. So 2 non-building parcels are created from a non-building parcel, and they go to abutters. Happy to answer any questions.
Very good, thank you. Sarah, if you could zoom in on the locus map up in the upper left.
Sure.
Thank you, I'm all set. Open it up, Mr. Mills, questions, comments?
I have no questions.
Mr. Stein.
Can I go last, please?
Mrs. Luttrell.
I'm wondering why Old Mill Road is not listed as discontinued on this plan as it's listed on plans going back decades and on the deeds going back decades.
There's a note referencing the status of Old Mill Road provided, and that's how the surveyor sees the statement. And that's how he is listed his statement.
But the statement just says that it's an old way. It doesn't say that it's been discontinued by the town.
because I think it's speculation that it's properly discontinued. So we're not making a statement. We're beyond what we're capable of making. Even though people have already made those statements previously, that doesn't mean they're accurate.
Well, so 60 Oak Hill received a variance to build that house based on the fact that there was a lack of frontage because Old Mill Road had been discontinued by the town. So why is it not discontinued now?
We've identified where the limits of the right-of-way are a public record. And that's the note that the land surveyor believes is the correct note. He's the licensed individual that sealed the plan. I've reviewed it with him, and that's the accurate statement that he believes should be made to the Registry of Deeds.
So that's saying that all the plans going back decades are wrong. There was no need for a variance. The deeds are all wrong.
There's nothing wrong with any of the deeds. They're meets and bounds. This plan is reflecting those record meets and bounds. I reviewed it with Rick, and this is Rick's pretty much adamant position that he's listing that statement accurately and appropriately.
I just want to interject one thing here while Mimi's talking about this. Peter, on the 2009 plan, I think you were, your company prepared the 2009 plan?
The different
Right.
land surveyor, yes.
Yeah, so on that plan, it did say discontinued, like Mimi says.
Yeah.
At that point, was there any conversation about having that being discontinued, says it discontinued there, but not having it now?
Just two different land surveyors, and one having a different understanding of the state statutes and what are required and what he's certifying to. There's a statement that he certifies on the plan, and Rick has very strong feelings about the statements that need to be made and how they should be made and how accurately they should be stated. And we reviewed this item, and parcel B has its meet and bounds established on the plan. And lots 2 and lots 1 are not being affected by this at all. We're just giving parcel B to lot 2, and we're giving parcel C to the PLB property that is apportioned off of land on Turnpike Road. Parcel A is just being made smaller, which doesn't have any bearing on the status of Old Mill Road. So again, the surveyor, I believe, has his prerogative. He's a licensed individual by the state of Massachusetts. And this is the position that he has stated, and it's not incorrect on an approval not required plan to make the statements that he's making.
But just an aside question, if in the future parcel B joins with lot 2 and that frontage is extended, is there an impact if later on another plan, the road then becomes discontinued as a reference? You see what I'm saying? Do you see some kind of impact in the future that if B joins with lot 2 and the plan shows up back and it says discontinued, what does that mean?
I don't think they're saying anything different. It's still going to the center line of the road. That's how the record plans have reflected this. I mean, I think for all intent and purpose, the road is discontinued. But again, I'm just stating why the statement is different than what was on a previous plan. Because it's the land surveyor's understanding of state statute, and he's the licensed individual that seals the document. And I have to trust that person's judgment. It's their registration and their seal that's on the plan.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mimi, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just was trying to not miss that.
That's fine. That was my only concern, that all of a sudden this shows up as a road when it's been discontinued on plans and deeds for decades. That's
I
it.
can assure you the
Thanks.
status doesn't change as a result of the plan. But again, it's the surveyor's note is his official statement on the road. So, thank you.
Mrs. Houlihan,
I have no questions.
back to you, Jesse.
Thanks. So I'm sorry, if somebody could just take me through how this meets the frontage requirement?
I'd be happy to, although none of the parcels are creating any new lots, nor are they affecting any frontage. Parcels B and C are outlots, if you will, coming off of parcel A. So there is no frontages, there's no areas, there's no changes to the primary principal residence lots, 1 and 2. But their frontages are defined on the plan from the previous one that Sarah had put up that reflected their frontages. Now, this plan doesn't affect them at all. So there's just ties back to the record monuments on the plan.
Oh, okay. So it's getting by because it's not changing the frontages.
Not getting by, and we're not changing it. Right. Lots 1 and 2 are not the subject of this plan at all. They're really shown to tie back to record monuments and to identify where the parcels will go when they're done. A is still connected to lot 1, its remaining portion. Parcel B would go with lot 2 and parcel 1A, which was part of that previous land division. And then parcel C goes to the land now formerly of PLB LLC, which is a fronting lot on Turnpike Road.
Thank you.
So going back to the Old Mill Road, which is discontinued. So as you said, Peter, the boundary of parcel B on the north is actually the center line of what used to be the road.
Agreed.
And the lot next to it, which is Bartolini, that northern property line is the center of the road, what used to be the road.
Agreed.
And then if you go further north, I can't really read that. What's the parcel to the north?
I think it's Pfaff. Yeah, that's how you say his name.
Andrew Pfaff.
Andrew and Ian Pfaff.
So if you look to the south, we see a property line and two owners and you can see where the property line of those two owners intersects with parcel A. It's at that angle. Is all of the property north of what used to be the road owned by, is it all one parcel, or should there be a property line intersecting with either lots 1, 1A, or parcel B?
The Pfaff owns all of the land to the north, if that's what you're asking, of either the town of Southborough right-of-way property there, or the parcel 1, I assume, 1, 2, and parcel B. So if that's the question you're asking, they are the abutter to all of that land.
So if the road was ever determined to be used, it would have to be on private property.
Yeah, I think at this point that the discussion of Old Mill Road is just that it's an ancient way. And again, Rick is defining it as a land surveyor, I think should, after he explained it to me, as he does in item 6, which is what the note refers back to. And he refers back to the plans that it's been listed on in the past. So I don't think its status is being defined any differently.
Yeah, and I think the fact that that the property line for Pfaff and Bartolini's and parcel B is the center line, that property line is shared. There's no way a road could go in there.
I don't disagree with you, and nor do I think anybody has any ulterior motive to try to have it be there. I'm just, again, the only reason why it just doesn't say discontinued on there is because, again, the land surveyor, again, in his professional opinion, the statement is the one that's made on the plan, and that's the accurate way of describing this.
Any other questions or comments? Any questions from the public?
John, you're going to point out something on the locus?
No, you and I had a discussion
Mhm.
earlier in the day about
Yeah.
another plan, and I was confusing
Okay.
it with this plan. So I'm good to go. And if there's no questions or comments, then we can entertain a motion to endorse the A&R.
Thank you.
We have 6 attendees and no hands raised at the moment.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we endorse the A&R for 60 Oak Hill Road as requested by the applicant.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, Morris, yes?
Mills, yes.
Stein, yes.
Latrell, yes?
Houlihan, yes.
Thank you. We'll get together. Karina, are we still allowed to go into the townhouse to sign this?
Yes, we'll get the coordinated to get the Mylar signed and the endorsement form, Peter, and as soon as it's signed, I'll call you so you can pick it up.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a discussion item, 15 Common Street. Pilgrim Congregational Church, it's a sign. Did you want to speak first, Marnie, or did you want the town planner to go over the submittal?
Yeah, I'm a member of the congregation, so I was going to recuse myself from the conversation.
Okay, Karina, thank you. Okay, Karina, let's get the info on this one.
Mr. Chairman, sorry to interrupt. I am also a member of that church, so I have to recuse as well. Sorry about that.
I should have known that, Mr. Stein. You've said that in the past.
I
Thank you.
apologize for not bringing it up sooner.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right. and
Anyone
Sarah-
else? Go ahead, Karina.
Sarah, Bill Harrington, as an
Yep.
attendee, is the one who'll be speaking to this. So to give you a quick update, the Pilgrim Congregational Church at 15 Common Street submitted an application to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a replacement sign at the front of the driveway on the Main Street side, where they had once had a sign, which was removed during the Main Street construction project. So they came up with a sign to replace the old one. And when they approached the building department, they were denied the permit because of it's a lit sign in a residential neighborhood, and it may have something to do with the size of the sign as well. So when you request a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals for a sign, the planning board reports back to the zoning board on any recommendations or conditions, their approval or whatever. So we prepared the standard memo to the zoning board that has the 5 votes, the 5 criteria. And Mr. Harrington is here to speak for the sign. And the Zoning Board of Appeals public hearing for the variance for the sign is scheduled for Wednesday, July 21st, in 2 days. So depending on the planning board's feedback on this and decision, we can prepare a memo to the ZBA in time for their public hearing for the sign.
All set?
Yes.
Mr. Harrington,
Yes, sir.
welcome.
Thank you. I'm not sure what you want to hear from me. When the new road construction came in, we had an old dilapidated sign which we took down, and we want to replace it with a more appropriate, more the refined sign in the front of the church. So we're trying to get the variance to do same. The sign, I think in your packet, you probably see a picture of the sign in front of the church.
Sarah's gonna put that up on the screen. Yes,
Yes.
The sign is approximately 4 feet by 6 feet. It's a HDU constructed sign that is supported by 2 granite posts. And it'll be illuminated with a small light from LED light, 18 watt from the ground. So we're hoping to get a variance so we can do this, because it exceeds, we're in a residential A area, which seems kind of strange for church, but that's where we are. And so the sign is a little bigger than is appropriate for the residential A.
Just to point out, as far as the outdoor illumination bylaw, that lighting of freestanding signs are exempt from applicability. What's triggered here is that it's lit in a residential zone, and that's why it's at the ZBA. And I can point out that the light, the spotlight is approximately 5 by 7 inches. And I believe the material spec sheet has identified that the color temperature is 3000 degrees Kelvin, which does fall in line with the approach that the planning board has for blue light reduction.
And the other thing about that sign is it will, the illumination will be tied into the timer, which times the lights that light the steeple, so that it will go off and on in the time that's defined by the town bylaws, which I believe has to be off by 10 o'clock at night.
So that's a rendering, right, Bill?
That's the rendering, yes, that would be the sign. It has granite posts, they're 8 inches square, and the sign itself is approximately 4 feet by 6 feet. And the illumination would be from the ground in front of it.
And on the right is the old sign.
Yes, that's the old sign that we took it down before it fell down. And that area was redone with the construction of the road a little bit, so we waited until the construction was done to go forward with this sign.
all set. Open up to the planning board. Mrs. Luttrell.
Thank you. Is this the same size as the original sign?
No, it's much larger. But on the other hand, it is approximately the same size as the one in front of the St. Mark's Episcopal Church, which is in our same zoning area and just one of our abutters almost. So we feel we're not doing anything that hasn't already been done in this area.
Okay. And how tall is this sign from the ground?
It's going to be about 6-7 feet.
Okay.
About 6 feet.
And the light that is shining on it will be shielded, so it will just shine on the sign and not cast light up towards the sky?
Yes,
Okay.
it'll be set up so it just illuminates the sign itself.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Who's left? Mr. Mills?
Yeah, Don, can you correct me? Is this similar to like when we do regular signs? There are like 4 questions we have to answer if they're in line?
Yes. Yes, Karina has that ready for us.
I have no questions. Bill, thanks for coming before us. Sorry you have to go through all these hoops to replace the sign because the town needed some space or area to redo the road in front of you, but appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no questions either. So, Karina, let's item number 1.
Okay, the first item is the sign scale is in reasonable relation to development scale, viewer distance and travel speed, and sign sizes on nearby structures. And either say yes, no, or not applicable to the 3
Morris,
corners.
yes.
Mills, yes.
Latrell, yes.
Number 2.
Sign size, shape, and placement serve to define or enhance architectural elements of the building such as columns, sill lines, cornices, and roof edges, and do not unreasonably interrupt, obscure, or hide them.
Morris, yes.
Number 2.
Yes, I'll say yes. I mean,
Latrell,
ideally,
yes.
I'd like to see it a little lower because I think it does obstruct the windows, but I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna make a big deal. of it.
I think if you saw it in real life, it wouldn't be a problem. Andrew.
No, I'll say yes.
Rendering may not be to scale.
Number 3.
Number 3, the sign design is in harmony with other signage on the same or adjacent structures and provides reasonable continuity in mounting location and height proportions and materials.
Morris, yes.
Mills, yes.
Latrell, yes.
Number 4.
Sign materials, colors, lettering, style, illumination, and form are reasonably compatible with building design, neighborhood context, and use.
Morris, yes.
Mills, yes.
Latrell, yes.
Number 5, the sign size, location, design, and illumination are not judged to present a safety hazard to vehicular or pedestrian traffic.
Morris, yes.
Mills, yes.
Latrell, yes.
Any special concerns or conditions? If
Not
not,
on my part.
Nope. Wish you the best of luck. Hope you get it.
Thank you,
So-
Don.
Bill, I'll finalize this memo and we'll get it off to the zoning board and we'll send you a copy as well.
Thank you very much, Karina.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
So the other board members are back.
Yes, I see Jesse and I see Marnie here.
So the next item on the event agenda is a vote on master plan committee appointments. So we have those names.
Yes, it's Joyce Magnowskis and Karen Svitkovich.
Could I ask Mr. Mills to take the chair? My computer says the battery's gonna clunk out and I have to go get a wire. So until I return, I would turn the chair over to Andrew Mills.
Great, thank you. So any questions on the 2 additional appointees to the master plan committee? Any discussion? So I'd be looking for a motion for the 2 appointees that Karina
I like that.
Karina just mentioned.
Joyce Magnowskis and Karen Svitkovich, continuing to be members.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Great. Any discussion?
Who seconded?
Jesse, oh, sorry.
Oh, got it, okay.
I made the motion. I'm getting confused.
Okay.
All those in favor? Mills, yes.
Stein, yes.
Latrell, yes.
Houlihan, yes.
Great. Thank
And
you.
here's Don, is he gonna abstain?
Morris, I wasn't there, so I'll abstain.
Okay. Oh, yes.
All right. Next item on the agenda is review of outdoor illumination rules and regulations. Karina. And I think I can release the chairman's chair back to the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Former Chairman.
So I'll briefly say, so that Marnie and Sarah can elaborate that the working group had received comments from the consultant Bob Parks on the rules and regulations for the outdoor illumination bylaw that was adopted on May 22nd. It's currently at the Attorney General's for review, but the town clerk provided me an unofficial copy of the complete document reflecting any amendments that happened at town meeting. So associated with that document, as you know, are the rules and regs. And since the working groups are working on it, they have some minor revisions to certain sections, specifically enforcement. So either Marnie or Sarah can take it from there.
Sure. So I know Sarah's not feeling so well. So Sarah, I'll talk, and if you want to chime in, feel free. Sarah had taken kind of former discussions that we've had and adapted them into the enforcement section. And so I think what we were prepared to kind of share was that enforcement section. And Sarah did a great job by kind of delineating non-residential and residential, and that the non-residential, they have an obligation if they've done a site plan and they really need to kind of abide by what they've been approved for. And then on the residential, we kind of constructed it where it's really up to the residents. It would be great if they could resolve their disputes, but if that wasn't viable, then it would be up to the complainant to provide evidence. And so that's really what this is here. I don't know if you guys can read it very well, but I don't know if you want to take a minute. This is kind of our recommendations. I would say that we as a committee haven't been, or not a committee, group have not been able to get together. I made some changes. Destin and I have been texting today. He's going to go back and review this as well. But I think it's pretty close. I think we generally applied the consultant's recommendations where appropriate. And then this was really the only point that was most important for us to get over to the Board of Selectmen, because I think we all agreed that it would be best that, since the building inspector is kind of their employee, if you will, that it would be really important for them to kind of come to an arrangement as to how enforcement would be handled, considering it was a really big point of discussion in the meetings leading up to the town meeting where this was approved.
So Marnie, you're saying that the working group wants to bring the enforcement section to the Board of Selectmen's attention for final feedback before the planning board moves forward on accepting the document.
Correct.
As a whole. Okay.
Yeah, so this is, oh, sorry.
In that second paragraph, non-residential,
Yes.
second to the last line says reserves the right inspect. Should say reserves the right to inspect.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm good with this.
Thank you.
And really our point for sharing it with the rest of the team, if the elected board wanted to review this now, provide feedback or provide feedback separately. But I think it is the intent of Sarah, when she's feeling better, Destin and I, to just make sure this is what we would like to have the Board of Selectmen review. But if you are all generally, fine with this, this is what we'd like to share. Yeah.
I have a just a little thing on the third line from the end. Planning board department must receive as-built plan. You're missing an I in built. And then just wanted to throw out there at the beginning, developers must provide. I'm wondering if we should change that to proponent, if we could foresee a situation in which the property wasn't being developed, but the lighting was changing.
Yep. Thank you.
Just a suggestion.
I like that suggestion.
Me too.
Otherwise, I'm good.
That's a good sign when we have Don and Mimi say it's like looking good. Except for our spelling, we'll go back and with a little bit more of a fine tooth comb. Late nights, rainy days.
Jesse, Andrew,
I'm good. Thank you. Great job.
Outstanding. No changes.
Outstanding, Sarah.
Oh, thank you.
good
Like
to
there's
go
been a
then.
spotlight put on this.
A
Good to
shield-
go.
Shielded one.
I like that joke. Okay.
Excellent.
As long as
So-
it's the correct bug.
So we
And what-
anticipate that this document, we'll put it on the agenda, we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting as well. To keep working on it if it's ready for planning board accepting or if it still needs any tweaking at the next meeting.
In light of no more comments, I will move on to the next item. I don't like that joke either. Open space monitoring report update.
So I just want to update you that for the open space monitoring for fiscal year 21, you're aware we hired Lucas Environmental to monitor 7 sites that were selected, working closely with Open Space Preservation Commission Chairperson Freddie Gillespie. Lucas prepared a draft report. I'm in the process of reviewing it, and they are going to be prepared to make any minor tweaks and then present at the August 16th meeting.
And that presentation will be at the beginning. No, we have hearings at the beginning.
Correct. And
But-
a likely A&R as well.
Okay. But we'll try to keep it so that it's not so late in the in the agenda.
Okay.
If you guys remember last year, it was quite late, and it's a very detailed, excellent report year after year, and it's worthy of our awake attention. All set? Questions, comments? Move on to the next item, which is site plan approval compliance, discussion item, either Karina or Mimi, right?
Mimi, you can go ahead. You and I have talked about this.
I asked that this be on the planning board as a discussion item to see if we could find a way to monitor site plans during construction so that they're in compliance with what was approved. This board puts a lot of time into getting site plans right. The proponents put a lot of time into tweaking things and getting them right. And it's a shame when sometimes they're not built as approved. And I know that the planning department doesn't have the bandwidth to be running, from site to site, checking site plans for compliance throughout the process. And I'm sure that the building department doesn't either. So Karina and I had discussed this. I discussed it a little bit with Dawn and wondering if perhaps that could be part of our consultant fees for site plan review.
Actually, back in the 80s and the 90s, when the town was exploding with subdivisions and site plans, we had the same situation. And we did hire our consultant to do periodic, not all the projects, but certain ones that we felt were challenging or that needed a closer look at. And we did have the developer pay the town, and then the town would hire the consultant to go there at our request. and not the developer's request. And that worked out really well.
In fact, we did it at 157 Porterville for the Eversource parking deck. Just a couple years ago, we had 2 or 3 inspections, including the as-built.
So what we could do is either increase the fee, which not sure if that would be appropriate across the board, because some of these don't really need a whole lot of inspection, but others might need a great deal of inspection. So we could add to our fee schedule a line item would be for site plan inspections. And as the board goes through the approval process for site plan, at the end, the board could recommend an amount based on the consultant's fee schedule that would reflect 1 inspection, 5 inspections, 25 inspections. And then if not needed, of course, that money would then be returned to the developer. So if we want to just leave that up to the town planner on how to implement that or recommend implementing it, we could do that tonight.
Yeah, I like that idea, Don. Definitely like having the flexibility based off the size of the project. And, so that it's fair and not something that could deter someone right away. So I like your idea. And I trust Karina.
Oh, thank you. I was just looking at the planning board's fee schedule to see what it mentions there, and it talks about remaining leftover fees being used for construction inspection of the roadway for subdivision. So that's not super applicable. So we could add something to that fee schedule and then give it to the planning board to accept and replace the old fee schedule. Also, I want to point out that usually in the conditions for major site plan, the first or second condition always indicates that there's an avenue to have inspections done during construction funded by the proponent in a similar fashion we do now with reviews.
Maybe you could also talk to Brian or I don't know, Mark Purple about other fee schedules, maybe DPW. There might be something very similar that the other departments might be using for some type of inspection that we could tailor toward our needs.
And you mean in reference to a specific amount, or typically we send the information to the reviewing consultant and they provide us an estimate for what inspections we require based on the size of the project, and that estimated cost is then sent to them.
Right. We would get that fee schedule from the consultant based on the complexity of the project and the type of inspectors that we would need. If it's a tricky, let's say a pile driving job or very steep grades or some type of technology that we're not familiar with, then the fee might be higher. Or if it's just a lot of relatively routine things, fee schedule might be lower, depending on the type of inspector that they would assign to that level of work. So we're going to trust Karina to put something together and submit it to us for at a future meeting.
Yes, thank you.
You happy about that, Karina?
Yeah, that's no problem. That's an
Okay.
easy one. That's an easy one.
I know, because you're going to give it to Sarah.
Oh, no.
Next item on the agenda is other business properly before the board, planners report, project updates, meeting approach.
So we just need to discuss, first off, what kind of approach the planning board wants for the next meeting. We want to continue with Zoom meetings still for now. I can update you that Southborough Access Media has been working on replacing one of their components. It's a relatively expensive component, and I think it's in the works And they may be ready in the near future, but not quite yet. And then as far as hybrid meetings go, they're finding all around that that's a little bit more difficult, because if Sam is recording a hybrid meeting in the meeting room, everyone's voice gets picked up. You can't isolate by just hitting mute on your laptop, which everywhere in the meeting room, there's signs now that they're doing a hybrid meeting. If you're sitting at a laptop and you're done talking, just like you had to turn off the microphones, you have to turn off your laptop sound when you're not talking, so the whole room doesn't. So anyway, I just wanted to confirm that we'd be doing another Zoom meeting for August 16th. Also, in reference to Jesse may possibly have the opportunity to join that way if he's remote.
Want to go Zoom next time?
On the 16th, I might be out of state. I'm trying to figure out a way to attend a funeral for a cousin. So if I'm gonna do that, I need to be remote.
Looks like we'll, at this point, decide to be Zoom. Is that okay, everybody? And then, depending on this COVID variant, how much horsepower that's going to be having a month from now, it's probably a good idea to go with Zoom. But as things change, we can change the approach right up to 48 hours before the meeting. So,
Can I ask a question about the procedure with Zoom? I just couldn't help but notice that during the downtown bylaw discussion, there were a number of editorials posted in the chat. And it occurred to me that if we were meeting in person, I don't recall our chair just permitting people to just shout out their opinions at random during the meeting, which to me is what the chat feature amounts to. So I'm wondering if there's any way to limit or regulate the chat, or is the chat just something that is informal and not, part of the formal discussion?
similar to if two people were in the audience and talking to each other quietly, it wouldn't be on the record or addressed to the board as long as we really couldn't hear them.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
No, I don't know, Jesse. I don't know. I think I don't know what the rule is, but I guess that would be the two ways. Either the chat is, talking over, or at the same time as the Zoom talk, or is it comparable to two people in the back of the room just having a little quiet talk? I would lean toward interrupting it, but
Unless they're posing a question in the chat to the planning board. So sometimes people will type a question in chat instead of raising their hand.
So where it becomes difficult is, I know when it then gets posted later to Zoom, those chats are not visible to anyone who watches the meeting. So I've talked with the town clerk about this before, that it's imperative that we as a board do not communicate other than, verbally, and everyone can see it and everything. But there was no comment. I didn't inquire about individuals of the public using that. I was more concerned with not being able to see it afterwards on Zoom.
Well, it might be well served then for us to sort of work that into the opening preamble, that if you post a comment in chat, it's not necessarily going to make it into the minutes, nor is it going to be considered necessarily by the planning board members, or something to that effect. Just a thought.
Right, because whoever is in the chat can only get there through being an attendee. And so therefore you have the opportunity to raise your hand and speak in that fashion. And I agree with Dawn too, that it's, the chat is more like as if two audience members are talking between themselves. On an aside, but, we can
Or if
check with
we're
the town
allowed to
clerk.
treat it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll follow up with the town clerk if he's had others ask about this and what their solution was. And, but I think you're right, because there's a lot going on in the chat room there.
What's next?
Oh,
No,
okay.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Whoa,
that's
were we
okay.
done with that?
At the end, can we, hopefully it won't take too long, but just how we want to, like the order we want to go through for the downtown piece next, if that can be a,
Planners report item?
yeah. Just so there's a little more structure before the kickoff of the meeting.
We might be able to handle that as an administrative matter. We wouldn't be discussing the merits of the proposal. We would be discussing how we would want to conduct the hearing.
Yeah, that's all. Just so we're all on the same page.
Now,
Okay.
Karina, maybe you should, I'm very confident that we can handle that administratively, but just check with Jim to make sure that as long as you don't discuss the merits of the proposal in any way, but just talk about how we want to conduct the meeting, if we're allowed to do that.
Okay.
And the reason is, as Andrew said, we want to have this thing flow orderly and efficiently.
And I think ideally, if we're able to proactively let members of the community know we're going to talk about certain subjects, they can attend and not feel like they have to attend everything or they're going to miss something. That would be my intent. So it purely is administrative. I just want to try to be as efficient as possible with everyone's time, and we can move forward and say, okay, we addressed that before, or we're going to talk about it, in a coming meeting or next time or something.
Okay, especially because the agenda item lists all three documents. It says the bylaw, the map, the zoning map, and the design guidelines, so that you can talk about any one of them.
Yeah.
Which would come up, could potentially come up. So maybe we'll keep the agenda that way, but at least at the beginning of the meeting, you can say, so they can sign off if they're not interested.
Yeah.
Okay. As you're all aware, the town hired new town council starting July 1st, which is Tallerman, Jay Tallerman of Mead, Tallerman and Costa, shortened as MTC, and Adam Costa, as you're familiar with, is on that in that law firm as well. And we already discussed the special town meeting date is now set for November 1st at this point, just so you're up to date. There's a new noise bylaw ad hoc committee that's been created. So if anyone's interested in that, they'll be posting information on wherever they post their committee. It's in the boards and committees on the website. Melissa Danzer and I and Mimi attended a site visit to 154, 156 Northborough Road, the contractor base. Just keeping you up to date on that. They're looking for a certificate of occupancy, but they know that they have some items they need to mitigate before they're going to get that. So there was some concern with some lights and some landscaping, and we're working on that. And it's now officially known as 156 Northborough Road per the assessor's office. That's the address they wanted. So we're working on that, and that kind of ties into the site plan approval compliance topic that we talked about. The Mass DOT Accelerator 8 replacement bridges is working pretty quickly. Just coming up this weekend, they're going to be replacing Woodland Road, the I-90 bridge over Woodland Road. So folks can log on to Mass DOT to see that information where they close lanes on the turnpike. Sometimes it does impact below But you can look up that information. But they're going to be working on the Woodland Road Bridge. And just to remind you, on Wednesday, July 21st, there was this draft zoning amendments workshop. If anyone was interested, I didn't get any feedback. Every once in a while, that'll come up again. So if you can't make this one, it's $20. But if you can't make this one, they come by my desk every once in a while. We'll forward that information to you if you're interested in attending any of those.
Karina, is that open to the public? Because I was thinking for that zone, the noise bylaw people, that would actually be helpful for them.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they're happy. It's CPTC is the agency. So they're happy to get anybody because it's Zoom meetings, so they don't have a real restriction.
Okay.
And so I can forward that to the noise committee if they're already bylaw committee, if they're already established. I think they are. So we can do that.
I don't think they were appointed the last meeting.
Okay.
They're going to wait till the next one.
So when those come up, they'll miss it because this is Wednesday. But when those come up, if another one like that comes up, I can send it to them. That's easy. Or Sarah can. I think that was, let me just check one last thing.
That wasn't a real dog. That was an alarm that goes off at 10 o'clock.
Oh, I'm done with my planner's report.
Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes.
You're on mute.
I think you're muted, Andrew.
Oh, I was, because I was hearing a dog. I make a motion that we approve the minutes from June 21st, 2021 as written.
Second for discussion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion, Mr. Stein.
I am going to abstain.
Any other questions or comments?
I have one little comment. Line 105, he indicated that Maytown, I think it was supposed to be many town roads. You're missing an N. Other than that, perfection.
Thank you, Mimi.
As always.
Motion's been made and seconded. One revision. All in favor? Morris, yes.
Mills, yes.
Latrell, yeah.
Houlihan, yes. Well done, Kate.
Thank you.
Next item says next meeting, August 16th, 2021, subject to change. And we should feel free to think about a meeting in between if necessary, or one after that. But since we've continued public hearings to that date, we're pretty much locked into that. We see the decision due dates are coming up. We took care of the 60 Oak Hill Road, so that one's done. And then the 6 to 8 Turnpike is August 29th. Any more questions, comments from the public?
No, we
Sarah.
only have 2 attendees at the moment, Mr. Stivers and Mr. Miller.
Sarah, hope you're feeling better.
Thanks. I think I'm on the mend.
It looks like Kevin's got his hand up if we're taking questions from the audience.
We have a question.
Mr.
Hey,
Miller, you're all set?
Sorry, am I on?
You
Yes.
are.
Yeah,
Yes,
just
sir.
super quick before the big dog barks again. I would agree with Jesse Stein about disabling chat. And I was a party to that because somebody started to respond to something I was saying in the middle of saying it, and I saw the chat, and then I feel obliged to respond to the chat. Fine by me if the feedback is helpful. Disable the chat altogether, and the Q&A, and that can be done administratively, by the way. I know that much about Zoom. And the Q&A then is helpful to ask a question directly to the panel in case there's some sort of procedural issue that arises during the course of the discussion. With that, thank you. And now the dog can bark. Thanks.
Is that because the Q&A can be seen by all the panelists.
Yes, it
Correct.
can, right.
Yes.
It's Q&A is seen by only the host and panelists. So that if, for instance, if I wanted to pose a question to the panel about something, the way you were handling things, I could pose it, but it wouldn't trigger this back and forth among participants. And I just personally, it's just an opinion. I think that would be useful, especially on a night like this when there's a lot of heat going on. So
I tend to agree with Mr. Miller.
have a good night, folks.
Good
Thank
night.
you. You too.
Thanks for hanging in there, Kevin.
Great.
Yes,
Under 3 hours if you count the 15 minutes that we lost.
it's true. I know. We would have been in the 9s if not for that.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, Morris, yes.
Mills, yes.
Stein, yes.
Latrell, yes.
Houlihan,